We just lit it differently. But we're going to play out some of the worst case scenarios with some of the greatest minds around, asking ourselves one simple question. What if? Everybody always says, gee, you know, we got to bail out these banks because it'll be really bad if we don't. Well, what does it mean really bad? And tonight we're going to think it out with the help of former CIA agents. That's some of the best money people around, military analysts, survival experts. We're going to try to show you how to prepare for the worst while everybody else is sitting back and hoping for the best. And I want you to know, everybody involved in this show is also hoping for the best. We're not doing this show to scare you tonight. Quite honestly, I'll explain at the end of the show exactly why. But I'm doing it, in a nutshell, to get you to start thinking outside of the box. In mid-January, the government war gamed out a scenario where American cities were subjected to a coordinated two-day attack. Why? Are they saying that an attack is imminent like that? No. They just understand that planning for the unthinkable will allow them to act rationally while everybody else is panicking. The truth is that you are the defender of liberty. It's not the government. It's not an army or anybody else. It's you. This is your country. So ask yourself, what kind of sentry do you want to be as you stand there at the gate? What kind of sentry do you want to post at the gate? Which one would be the right one? Somebody who refuses to consider how our country may come apart at the seams, or somebody who gets freaked out at the first sign of trouble, or somebody who has just lived by the words from former Arkansas Senator William Fulbright. He said, quote, "We must dare to think about the unthinkable things, because when things become unthinkable, thinking stops and action becomes mindless." We're making decisions right now, and I don't think we're really thinking them through. Let that not happen to us. Let's make the unthinkable thinkable for 60 minutes. And we start right now. All right. I mean, the spooky music was enough. All right. I want to stress that we are not predicting these things are going to happen. We are asking you, what do you do if they happen? Can they be prevented? Let's look at our first scenario. It's the financial meltdown. The year is 2014. All the U.S. banks have been nationalized. Unemployment is about between 12 and 20%. Dow is trading at 2,800. The real estate market has collapsed. Government and unions control most of the business, and America's credit rating has been downgraded. That's the first scenario. Joining me now is we have Stephen Moore. Stephen, so let me go to another topic, because the problem with this scenario is, how do you get people to to live under this without clamping down on the people? Civil rights, freedom of speech. What does that look like in 2014? Onkar Ghate, he is a senior fellow at the Ayn Rand Institute. Onkar, tell me a little bit about what you see happening with freedom of speech in a scenario like this. How does the government need to keep people muted in a situation where things have really fallen apart?
Yeah, I think so. In this kind of nightmare scenario that you're envisioning, what would happen is that the government wouldn't tolerate any kind of objections and dissent, and what would happen is that there would be a clampdown on free speech, particularly, I think, political speech. And we've seen precursors of that with, say, McCain-Feingold Act, which is an assault on the First Amendment rights, which tells people you can't spend your money to advocate for views you want. It tells you when you can do it. It puts periods when no one's allowed to speak, or some groups aren't allowed to speak. And we would see a real extension of that, so that the people in political power can hold on to their power. To get a real collapse in a dictatorship, it's one-party rule. But to get that, you really have to silence other people. And that you can only do that by infringing on their free speech rights and making a mockery of the First Amendment.
I'm not sure if you are, and I don't mean to insult you by any stretch of the imagination. We just haven't had a chance to talk beforehand. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the history of Woodrow Wilson or Franklin, or even Truman. We've done this before, and it was always wrapped in Uncle Sam and the flag. We have clamped down on people. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, back in the early 1900s, we had 150,000 people that were political prisoners that were in jail for speaking out against World War I. So this isn't a crazy scenario.
No, I don't think it is.
Right. This has happened before. So what are besides what would be the signs, the road signs along the road to 2014 that we should be aware of?
I think extensions of McCain-Feingold, extensions of, well, there's some political speech that is okay and other speech isn't, and it's the government that gets to decide which is which. If we start seeing, as we've seen, stimulus czars, regulatory czars, if we start seeing speech czars, we're down the road to a real dictatorship, and that will be really scary.
Okay, let me go back to Gerald here for just a second. Tell me what life is like for the average person, and Stephen, chime in on this.